Okay, so here's the girl standing there, this woman, and I really believe I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but the people in the crowd, in the audience there, they had no idea what was being said and to acknowledge Iris, because they were in such a trance. You know, they were sleeping, they were like comatose, like they were in a trance. And this is this generation that we're warning right now, and this is what it looks like, being so disconnected, from the reality of things. And so here, um, now at this point, nobody's receiving Iris but this one woman who stands up. And this one woman represents that generation, or, within that generation, from what I'm receiving from this. Okay, so she stands up, and she also, I feel that she's like a leader, that we are to look at a female. And then Iris receives a hand on her shoulder, and she has the impression that this is her husband. And so he leads her to the last row, to the back row, where she belongs, where she stands. And that was the end of her dream. So you see, here, we've got a huge message, and we've got good news and we've got bad news. The good news is that we are moving at full speed and Jesus is in control. Okay? That we are not to worry, to believe on Him completely, wholeheartedly, seeking God and worshiping only God, putting everything down. He is in full control. The other part of that dream was just simply, the darkness is going to cover us at noonday. That this is the warning, the second part of the dream is a warning. Iris is warning this generation. That's the representation of the entertainment. Because our children today are the me generation. The lost generation. Now the hand that was on Iris' eye was receiving that to be Jesus, who brings her to the back row, the last row. And that's where the first will be last and the last will be first. Again, we are warning the last generation. The first will be last and the last will be first. So here's your good news and your bad news. And, we need to prepare. And I don't know if anybody would ever be ready for the ugliness that we're going to see. But, I mean, we are prepared. We have been foretold. And there is no fear. Love will cast out that fear. like I say, I want to thank Mr. Brother Jeremy. Okay, I'm just going to let this go for now, and I'm just going to go into why I'm a little upset, and I'm hoping that I made myself clear in what I was talking about. Early morning, I was doing my first prayer, my morning prayer, and all of a sudden I just started to cry. I couldn't stop, and a few minutes later I received a phone call from my daughter, and she told me that my grandson's friend was shot in the head and was found in the downtown area in an alley. There was no gun found. There was no shells. There was nothing. This young man was one of the lost, and he was tossed to and fro from, foster homes, got messed up in the drugs, was very confused of his identity. He was very confused with his sexuality. Anything that went wrong, went wrong. He was in deep waters. He was a tadpole. Because it seems like it was a hit. It seemed like the boy said the wrong way because there was nothing around him for evidence. He was just barely 16. So I've been mourning today, and I ask that we all pray for those that are lost, and that we may help those that seek to find hope. Where this young man had none. Because I believe if he had found Jesus, if he had called on him, things would have been different. See, in the darkness also is when now Google, when you ask Jesus' name, if who's Jesus, and it says it has no information, who's God, has no information, but it has all this other religion and gods before them, but yet our children ask, who's Jesus? He's not worth knowing. So it's getting really dark. It's getting really dark. So, no fear, be love, and give hope.